TCU. I think he was a transfer, very athletic. Reminds you a lot of the '94 that graduated from last year. And then they picked up Harvey Clemens from Georgia. He's a long, athletic safety guy that can play back on the hash and then also play the nickel Sam. So you don't see a whole lot different numbers, but the body types look very similar. They're aggressive, they're fast, they're physical. So it's going to be a good challenge for our guys.
Tony, how do you get the guys focused on what you just told us and not the fact that Louisville's 0-2?
Just cut on the film. Well, when you cut on the film versus Auburn, and then obviously you know Auburn likes to run the football. That's their bread and butter. And you see those guys holding the line of scrimmage, making plays. And then when you see Louisville, obviously they had a little different mentality. They play more of a nickel personnel versus Houston, I mean. But you still see them moving around, controlling the line of scrimmage. So you don't have to tell them. You just say, hey, look at the tape, boys. And then they know last year that team that we played last year, they felt like they walked out of here and left some doubt that we kind of stole the game from them. So they're going to be ready to play, and they're very talented. And also, too, you talk about a wounded animal is a dangerous animal because their back's in the corner. They're going to be playing at home. They should be 0-2. They believe they should be 0-2, and they're going to be ready to prove it.
Coach, what you said the other day, that needed to continue to build depth. That was the bottom line from that we took from that game. Is that applicable to different areas on offense?
And I think you want to build depth at all positions. I'll start with the running back position. Obviously Wayne is the guy. He's had the majority of carries, but he lives a tough life. So you got to have guys ready to step in and play. And then on the offensive line, they're in there, guys following them all the time. You look at Norton's situation. You get hit from the side on the knee. You got to have somebody else that's ready to run in there and play. And then with the skill guys, as fast as we played, tempo was an emphasis for us. You talk about 49 plays in the first half of the first game, 52 in the first half of the second game. So that's a lot of plays that you're playing, and if you keep that pace up for 4 quarters, you need a lot of skill guys that can roll and play.
But are there any particular concerns in any area?
Particular concerns? No, not at this point.
Talk about all the new pieces in the offensive line and communication and the crowd noise and the effect that's going to have on the game. Have you guys prepared for that over at the practice facility?
Coach changed up the way we practice, and so we have music going pretty much all the time during practice. So that's forced us to communicate better. It's a challenge from a coaching standpoint because we can't yell as loud as the music is, but it's been good for our guys because they've been practicing like that the entire camp. And we are doing a little bit more of the crowd type noise instead of just music playing to help those guys get ready. So obviously we know we're going into a loud environment and communication is going to be critical. They've done a good job in the games that they've had, and then hopefully with what we do this week, they'll be prepared.
You talked about 98, Sheldon Rankins. What kind of sets him apart? He's got that 303-pound body, but what else about him is special? Well,
if you look at him in the first game, they played him out on the edge. So he's athletic enough. It looks like he's running better this year. Very physical at the point of attack. Really quick feet, good leverage. Plays well with his hands. So he's got the ability to play inside, but then also get out on the tackle and use his weight and his quickness to change it up on a tackle. So he's got a lot of skills.
What was your assessment of the offensive line for last week?
Just looking from a mental standpoint, I thought we were all headed in the right direction. Now, App State did a good job of changing the alignment of their backers. They did some things knowing that we were going to come in and try and run our inside zone, so they kind of shift the backers. And more so, it was technique issues, staying on the double team a little bit too long. With the backers plussed over a little bit, we weren't able to get back off of it. But overall, thought the communication was good. We were headed in the right direction. We just had a couple technical breakdowns that we got to get cleaned up, which they've identified. They've accepted responsibility and been working on it already.
When Mike Williams went down, did you notice any kind of a difference in approach to Sharon's attitude of practice, or that led you to believe that he could have the kind of game he had on Saturday?
I think it started at the beginning of camp. He knew that this was his year. I don't think he anticipated that Mike was going to get injured. He'd have to step in, at the 9 role and be the prominent guy. But you did see a little bit of a sense of urgency after Mike was determined to be out for a while. But I think it started before Mike's injury, and then when Mike did go down, it kind of proved to him that he has to be ready, and I think he's ready to accept the challenge.
He's been waiting for several years to have a game like that. What do you think that'll allow him to do, I guess, moving forward, confidence-wise, and just all that kind of stuff?
Well, I think it validates all the hard work that he's put in. He's waited his turn, whether it be injury or some of the other guys here, and not being able to get on the field and do the things that he wants. And he's made some big plays for us. But I think coming out and having a dominant game like he did does build confidence, and we're going to need him to play at a high level with a lot of confidence for a lot of snaps. throughout the course of the season.
Where's Stanton at physically and within the game plan?
You know, I think Stanton's coming along. He's moving around pretty good. And again, we're gonna have to use all of our tight ends because again, you're playing 80 snaps a play. 80 snaps a game. That's tough for Leggett to play all 80 plays. And Garrett is getting in there, but you got to slowly bring Garrett along because he has to be involved in the pass protection, the run blocking, and the pass routes. So I think Stanton is still that guy that you go to right after Leggett. And again, this game right here, we're going to have to use a little bit of 12 personnel, 11 personnel, mix it up, so you're going to see those guys out on the field.
If Seckinger's available, do you still favor Garrett blocking jumbo type personnel, or is Stanton capable of taking that role?
When we go to like a jumbo personnel, all of them are on the field, so we have to use all those guys. I think Garrett is probably a little bit ahead from just a lead blocking standpoint, just because he's a little bit heavier and he's not dealing with the knee. But we have to use all those guys in that situation. And Stanton has to be ready because if something happens to Garrett, then he's the guy that replaces. So all those guys have to be able to do everything that we ask of that position.
Tony, Deshaun's not had to be a significant part of the run to this point. I would think going forward, that's going to creep in to be more of a staple of this offense. Do you see opportunities in this game, or do you need him to do that more?
Well, I think whenever he's able to run, he creates an extra hat for us on offense. And so as going forward, we know we're going to have to run him a little bit. Got to be strategic in how we do it. Use some of the I wouldn't say trickery, but some of the misdirection to help us there. But I think going forward that he is going to have to get involved in running the football. But then also has to. What you don't want to do is you don't want to run him and take away from his ability as a passer. So you gotta find a way to manage that and find that balance to keep him sharp as a passer, but then also effective as a runner. So defenses can't sit on tendencies and they can't play us heavy towards the pass.
But as I understand your offense, that's a lot of that's built into his options on a lot of calls.
Correct. Yes, you have options on a lot of our run calls for him to pull it and throw it. Then there's going to be some run calls where he'll be reading specific defenders to pull it and run. So again, as we continue to, the first two games we wanted to come out and just kind of establish the base, and get everybody on the same page. We had some things over the summer that we really focused on, that we wanted to make sure that we had a point of emphasis the first two games. And so as we go forward, based off the tendencies of the defenses that we're facing, we'll have the ability to bring in some more of those wrinkles to really expose them.
Sorry, what's the toughest part as a coach when you only have 3 days to prepare for a game before traveling?
Oh man, well, no sleep. So you're running on fumes first and foremost, but you're trying to cover every situation, and you also understand that they're preparing as well. So you got to not only prepare for what you see, but for what you don't see, making sure that you're smart with your practice plan, because over the course of a normal game week, you have specific areas of the game plan that you work on different days of the week. Where you lose, a practice and a half, so to speak. So you got to figure out a way to get your base stuff done, all your situational stuff, and then also have opportunities to prepare for the unexpected.
With the competition level rising a little bit, do you change the way you handle the backs as far as reps in practice? Because a guy like Allman may get 2, 4, 5 more carries if he plays the entire game type thing. You change the way you do the reps.
No, in practice I won't change the reps because I think it's important that all those guys are getting reps so that they're prepared to play. And then you also challenge Wayne in a situation if you're not getting as many reps because everybody else is getting those reps, you got to take mental reps. But I think as it goes forward, you want to be in a situation if he gets the hot hand, then you want to ride with him. But then you also got to have those guys prepared that if something happens, they got to be ready to go in and keep up the same level of play. So I won't change the reps in practice, but I'll challenge them all to make sure that even though you may not get as many reps in the game, make sure you're managing and taking advantage of your practice reps so that you're prepared for more game reps if it comes.
Would you prefer to use lesser backs in this game or just game flow?
I think it's going to depend on game flow. I think this is going to be a physical, tough game. I think those guys are going to have to run hard. I think the game is going to come down to who wins the line of scrimmage, and so it's going to be a tough physical game. And so, if Wayne is seeing it, and he's disciplined with his eyes, then you got to let him roll. But I got to find a guy that's just like last year. It ended up being Choice. Late in the game, Wayne started the game last year, and then Choice finished it off because Choice got hot. Choice was finding the runs. He was playing physical. So I think it's a situation we'll start with Wayne because I think he's earned that. And then just depending upon how he plays will determine how the rest of the guys get their opportunity.
Now that you're 2 weeks in, is there anybody that's making a move up the depth chart, whether it's from third team to second team or second team to first team, whether it's quarterback, offensive line, receiver?
You know, I think Guillermo is pushing. He's pushing Norton at the center position, and at the running back spot. You know, now with Zach being back, you know, and ready to roll, I'm seeing him kind of push towards the front. At the tight end position, it's about kind of how it's been with Leggett at the top and the rest of those guys chasing him. And then at the wideout spot, you know, really just trying to get Dion to come along. I think he's very, very talented, but with the transition from going from quarterback to receiver, it's taking a little bit longer than we would want, but it's right on track if that makes sense to you. Continue to push Ray because I think Ray is a guy that can push for more snaps to help Artavis. Because again, if you got a good 1-2 combo at that two-man position with as much as we do, that makes you very explosive. So I think those are the ones that are pushing the most probably.
Coach, bad snaps seem to be a bit of a chronic issue in the first couple games. I think there were 3 on Saturday and a couple in the first game. Norton seemed to be great with his snaps after the Florida State game last year.
Right.
Is there anything specific from a technical standpoint that needs to be corrected on that going into a noisy environment like Louisville?
You know, I don't think so. And I think the first snap, you know, in fairness to Falcinelli, that was his first game playing center. The one that was over the head, I think that was him that snapped it over the head. And then Norton was off a little bit to the right throughout the course of the game. Then we did have the one overhead, but you know, nothing to panic about. You know, we went back out and challenged those guys, and the snaps were good yesterday. And you know, the big thing is just like I said after the game is it's like shooting a jump shot. Make sure it's the same every single time. But I don't think there's a technical issue to worry about. But we understand that how significant it is that you got to get that snap right every time because of the timing of our offense.
This will be the first, I guess, true test more or less for Mitch. Anything different, way to approach it when you guys are with that?
You know, I don't think so, because I think his biggest test was fall camp with Kevin Dodd and Shaq Lawson, and I think these guys are going to challenge. Very, very good players, but I don't know if he'll see anything that he hasn't seen, you know, on the practice field. Now he'll have to be locked in and ready to play, because those guys are going to challenge him because they know he's a young guy. But nothing different from our approach in terms of how we get Mitch prepared, because he's been battle tested throughout camp with the guys he goes against every day.
How's Kelly's nose?
You know, I haven't heard anything in terms of a break or anything. Heard he was fine. I'm sure we'll get an update, but he was out there at practice yesterday. Didn't see any issues.
Is he getting closer to number 2 on the depth chart?
You know, I think he's pushing. And the key is to find situations to play him in the game.